Learn about how Lucky Dog Television Productions got its name and meet its charismatic founder, coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at Villa Romana, Italian restaurant on South Kings Highway in Myrtle Beach, in front of the famed nativity scene that's been here with the Montrose family for so many years. And we're visiting with Donald Smith, the founder and president of Lucky Dog Television Productions. Good morning, Donald.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I think the big question in all viewers' mind is, why Lucky Dog? Where the heck did that come from?
It was my wife said you need to, she'd given me a T-shirt and had Lucky Dog on it one time, and I've been pretty blessed and been fortunate and lucky, and so wanted something a little different that maybe would stand out in the phone book when somebody was looking for some type of video production instead of AAA video.
Right.
And it's worked. I mean, there's a lot of people that have recognized that name and called us just because of that, and they think that I'm a big dog lover, which I am. I love dogs, but it's kind of served twofold. It got us some attention, and then it kind of tells a story about how my life's been very lucky.
Well, you know, it's been so great for the last 15 months, either seeing you or but particularly Lane and Keith, and seeing those T-shirts, the Lucky Dog Television Productions T-shirts, or the shirts, the nice-looking shirts, and to think, this is a real thing. This guy's had a business for 15 years with that name on it.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's in a conservative marketplace or a conservative client, you know, they say Lucky Dog. Wow, that's we don't want it. We don't want to be associated with anybody that would come out that crazy. But it's been right the opposite. And one of my biggest clients is HTC, very conservative company, and I cherish their relationship, and that's another reason why we're lucky to have clients like that.
Right, absolutely. It's so exciting, Donald, to think. It must be a little more than a year and a half ago and that's part of the reason why I wanted to get you and Hilda on the show this week. About a year and a half ago, it was at the Trestle, right next door to Lucky Dog Television Productions there in Conway on Main Street. A great location. I've been there with you 2 separate times eating lunch, but that day in the summer of '02 there with you and Hilda, as we talked through some of the ideas of can we do a show, and of course talking to you about who would host the show, who could we find to do that. You had so many great ideas on that, and you and Hilda have been such great inspirations.
And we ended up with you.
What the heck happened? We really screwed up. That's right. That's exactly right. I remember.
Well, I think we need to tell that story how that came.
Yeah, please, absolutely.
You know, for the viewers, especially, we when as you know, when we first started talking about a show, we were talking about going to the PD market and featuring some people there along with Horry County, and we talked to a number of names of hosts and. In one of the meetings we had, I said, you need to do it.
Yeah.
And one reason why I felt that way, and it's worked, is you can see the passion in you. You know, I say this to people that really haven't been in the business. One reason why actors get paid the enormous figures they do in movies and stuff like Meryl Streep and people like that is because they make you believe. The average person, if they're trying to do that, they can't. But if it's a natural thing, they can. And I knew you just had that natural passion about you, and it took us a while to talk you into it.
Yes,
yeah, I'm very. A lot of people would be surprised how much coaxing it took you. And we actually did a few dry runs to show you that what I saw, and I think it's turned out extremely well. I don't think we could have. If you weren't in the picture, I don't think we could have found a better host.
Well, we've been very blessed. I appreciate all that encouragement back then. I appreciate those good words. And, of course, the show's changed dramatically. You know, when we launched back in August, really that first week of September of '02 last year, there at the Boy Scout Service Center, of course, we were doing 3 guests a day then, which is very harried. And then later dropped down to 2 guests a day. And, of course, now this idea to really be able to spend some time with Donald Smith to find out a little bit behind Lucky Dog, the PR Smith, so many of the aspects of your life that tick, obviously your daughter and your wife, I mean, the amazing aspects of life, you may not be able to get in 8 minutes. Jack Murphy does, though, with River Talk. He's able to get in there and really make it happen.
And like you said, they're actually 2 different shows. And when we first discussed the idea about taking one guest for an entire program, that, at first, I didn't know if that would work. I thought maybe that that might get old. But yeah, I don't think it is. I think, which I've shared with you and I'll share with the public, I think the public now, maybe not me, but there's certain people that they want to hear more than you can do in 8 minutes. River Talk, the other program we do that airs right before your show with Jack Murphy, where it's got a different purpose. They're similar in ways, but they're different in that aspect. We try to get 15 guests a weekend, 3 a day.
Let's talk about Donald Smith, in Horry County since, golly, is it 1970?
Yeah, actually, yes. My mother's originally from here, from the Aner area. My father was in the service. He was from Salina, Kansas, and he met my mother while he was stationed at Myrtle Beach Air Force Base. They got married, and he, let's see, I think it might have been Alaska, and my mother went and stayed with his parents in Kansas, and that's when I was born. I was actually born. My brother was born here in Horry County. I have an older sister that's from the Philippines that my parents adopted. When we were over there, we actually spent 8 months in the Philippines, and we met a young lady over there and fell in love with her, and said we're bringing this girl back to the United States, and they did that. As my older sister, and then my older brother, he was born here in Horry County. Then I was born in Salina, Kansas, and my younger sister was born in North Dakota.
Is that right? When did your dad finally retire from the Air Force and you all settled in?
He actually retired in 72, but we moved back here in 70, I think. Yeah, I think it was in 70. We moved back here. He was stationed at Fort Fisher, and so that was close enough for us to stay here, and he just went back and forth. And,
I think I saw it was Aner in 1970, so you were in your early teens, right there in your early teens. And Donald, it was amazing to read in, I guess, 75 or 76, where you went ahead and set up your own business, a farm supply company.
I graduated from Manor High School in 75, and when I got out of school, I started a farm supply business.
What gave you the drive? How did you, as an early teenager, that's amazing.
But I actually, being from that area, my father wasn't a farmer, but my mother had 13 brothers and sisters, and her sisters and brothers, they all farmed, and I was really close to a cousin of mine, and his father was a farmer, and coming up, you work in tobacco, and I worked for them because of my cousin, and then a little later on when I found out really how hard a working in tobacco was, I had another dear friend that his father owned a farm supply where they sold fertilizer, chemical, and like a little country store. And through the summer, I would work with him, and then on the weekends. And I said, I can do this. I can do this on my own. I didn't have any money, but I can do this on my own. And when I got out of high school, Royster Fertilizer Company, they were based out of, or had a major office in Florence, and rode over and sat down with a few, I don't remember their names, but sat down with a few executives and said, I know this sounds silly, I'm 18 years old, but I want to start a fertilizer farm supply company. I've got a store that I can lease. It's got a warehouse, and I need some product. I don't have any money, but I need some product. And it went very well that first meeting. They finally, after maybe a couple more meetings, they actually came out to the Joiner Swamp section of Horry County.
Right.
And there was a small little store there that I had leased, and it had a warehouse. When I say warehouse, a pack house where they used to store. Horses were kept down underneath, and the hay and corn were upstairs. It hadn't been used that way for years. I cleaned that out, and we convinced them that, when I say we, I convinced them that this is the perfect place that I can store it.
Right.
And chemicals, and I had the perfect front with the country store. I wanted to run it like they did years ago.
Oh yeah.
And so they took a chance. And at that time, other fertilizer companies, you'd go in, they'd have the big metal buildings you pull in. They have the forklifts, and they had to load you up and you'd walk in, sign the papers, leave with your fertilizer.
Right.
I couldn't afford that, didn't have that. But I went and made a deal for it was probably 60, it was in a 60-ton truck.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did offer the farmer, though, was that, I'll deliver it to you. We'll take it, we'll put it underneath your pack house. And I had a couple guys that worked for me, and so that kind of caught on.
Mm-hmm.
And they, I'll tell you exactly how the deal was made. They said, we'll do a one deal. Royster said, we'll do a 1-year deal with you if you sell $100,000 worth of product and collect 80%, because usually when you sell farm supply in this area, they pay after they sell their tobacco and corn and stuff.
Okay.
So you'd have to finance them into for the 3 or 4 months, which I couldn't finance an acre corn man, let alone a 25-acre tobacco farmer. But they said, if you'll sell $100,000 worth of product and you collect 80% of it, $80,000, because sometimes you don't collect it all.
Sure.
We'll talk about a long-term deal with you. The first year I sold $186,000.
No way.
And collected all but $500 and some dollars. So we.
Wow, Donald, you were 18, 19 years old. That's insane.
Lucky.
Yeah, there we go.
Dog.
Back to Lucky Dog.
Lucky.
That is incredible. Now, how did your family feel about this, Donald? How were your mom and dad about you finishing high school and starting your own business? Were they supportive of that?
My father wasn't.
He was not.
No, he wanted me to go to college. My older sister and my older brother, my younger sister, all went to college, and him and I were very close. And he had his own dreams for me and passions, in which at an early age I felt like maybe that's what I wanted to do, and he wanted me to become an attorney and get into politics.
Mm-hmm.
But later on, that just didn't seem right for me, and but he wasn't happy the day that I told him I wasn't going to college. I actually had to go get my grandfather, his dad, who moved. My father was an only child, and his parents moved here when they knew that we were going to stay in Horry County, and I had to go get my grandfather to
go with you to tell him.
Well, after I told him, I went to my grandfather because I knew he was extremely upset. My grandfather I wish I had time to tell you that story when he set my dad and myself down, because he was kind of on my side. But years ago, my grandfather gave me a silver dollar, and he had a little message on it. And it was, ships are always safe in harbor, but that's not what ships are made to do.
Oh, wow.
So he was that kind of guy, and he was very supportive. Now, he was very supportive on me getting out on my own. And then after he told my dad this little story, my dad never questioned it again. And I think he was proud of the success we had.
You and your dad were close, Donald?
Very close, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He died 5 years ago. We talked literally 3 or 4 times every day.
Oh, come on.
No, every day.
Now, my dad and I are close. We talk daily, but not 3 or 4 times.
No, every day. He never, and I can never remember my dad laying a hand on me. Now, he would, he would give you those sermons, and sometimes I wish he would have just went ahead and spanked me and been done with it.
Right.
But I never lied to him but one time, and he caught me in it, which was another awful moment. But him and I had a great relationship. He never wanted me to lie to him, and he never lied to me. But I can't say the same. I lied to him one time, and it was over a girl in a car.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, don't even get into that. No. Speaking of a girl, did the relationship with your father help set the stage for your relationship with your daughter?
I've said this before, and I truly mean it. If I can be half the father my dad was, she'll be all right.
Yeah. Those are great words, Donald. At some point you had to. You moved on from the farm supply company. At some point, you had to get into television production. Something set the stage for the 15 years ago setting up Lucky Dog Television Productions. What was it that, after an incredible year of $186,000, your first year out in your late teens with other guys working for you, why would you have ever left that business? Why would you have ever gone, and we want to segue into Cox and then later the other company before setting up Lucky Dog, but what prompted you to move on and hook up with Cox Cable?
To be honest with you, the reason I was made an offer that was just really hard to turn down, and I knew that I felt that the farming there was going to be a turn in it. Mm-hmm. I felt like that there were a lot of things happening. Tobacco was not as popular as it once mm-hmm. was, and I felt like this opportunity might not come again. So I sold the company, and really wasn't doing anything. Was just looking for the right thing to do, because I did not have a college degree. Mm-hmm. So I knew it was going to have to be something that, or I felt like it was going to have to be something I created.
Right.
A good friend of mine, his cousin, had a deodorizer, rug deodorizer. Mm-hmm. And he had seen, this friend of mine had seen some of the promotion we had done with the fertilizer company. Mm-hmm. And he said, they were trying to launch it in Myrtle Beach. Mm-hmm. So he gave him my name and said, maybe this guy can help you. Wow. Well, at that time, the World's Fair was going on in right. Knoxville, Tennessee. Right. In Maryland, being from Knoxville, I was familiar with it. But in Myrtle Beach at that time was very big in the World's Fair. They had an exhibit there. That was a big market for Myrtle Beach, the Tennessee, Ohio area. And so they had a big presence in the World's Fair.
Right.
Well, there was an odor problem at the World's Fair in a certain section of it. There was an odor problem. And I knew it because I'd been a number of times. And I thought, well, if the World's Fair will endorse this product, then that'll be the way to get in the door in Myrtle Beach, because right. they're so pro World's Fair.
Sure.
So we made a few phone calls, and getting something like that, I think it was like $250,000 for mm-hmm. to say
endorsed by right.
the 1982 World's Fair. So they didn't have that kind of money and wouldn't do that. So I said, why don't we go up there and try to sell them this product to work that issue? So they said, well, yeah, let's try it. So I tried to call the World's Fair. You couldn't talk to anybody. And so finally I called Strom Thurmond's office.
Oh, yeah. And
talked to some of his people. And finally he called back and said, now exactly what do you want? And I told him, we're trying to get somebody from the World's Fair to give us a call back. We have this product. And he said, well, let me see what I can do. Within an hour, that time, Senator Howard Baker from Tennessee mm-hmm. called. He'd called him. And he said, I had to go through the explanation to him. And probably within another hour, we got a call. I'll never forget the guy's name. It was Pete Suckup from the World's Fair. He was in charge of purchasing. And he said, I'm told, and I was trying to be real nice with him on the phone, trying to tell him about the product. He said, I don't care about it. I'm told and instructed I've got to meet with you. He said, I'm telling you, we're not buying anything. We're over budget. But I've got to meet with you. I've got to give you 15 minutes. When do you want it? So we set up a date when we'd go up.
Right.
Well, Sun News had heard about it, and they did an article when we left. So we go up there, go into the meeting. 2 hours later, they become the largest purchaser of this product.
Oh, come on.
That's how big it was. That's how good that product was.
Yeah.
So the company took that and rolled with it. Well, at that time, Cox Cable had a local, they call them LO, local origination stations. Mm-hmm. It's where Fox 43, which you owns, broadcast. Mm-hmm. This just went on, they produced stuff just to go locally on their cable system.
Right.
Kathy D'Antoni was the station manager. They actually looked at it, referred to it, and ran it like a regular broadcast station. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She had seen this in the paper, and she'd call me and said, I want to meet with you. And at that time, they were doing a TV show. It was Studebakers Live. It was a dance contest. And I was fixing to share something with you. I don't even know if you knew this, but she came in and she said, we want to revamp this show. Miller, and that time Miller Beer was a big sponsor, and we're about to lose them. And if you can do that with that product, maybe you can help us with this show. And I said, I don't know anything about television. She said, you don't have to. You just do this. So went in, and I had a few ideas, making some changes. And one of which, and like I said, I don't know if you know this, but Lane Harris we chose to be the host for that program.
Of the Studebakers Live. You're kidding.
No,
Lane, our director?
Yeah, I think that probably was. You can ask him after the show. I think that was his debut as far as talent. But
I think it was, modeling jeans. I think it was modeling jeans. And,
it was modeling something.
Yeah, right.
But we had changed the look of it, changed the format a little bit, and it was a hit. It really was. And and Kathy and the people at Cox that time came and said, we'd like you to work with us full time. So they hired me as I think my title then was senior producer, and that's when started with Cox, and that's how I got started.
That is amazing, and that was in the early '80s, 20 years ago. Later went on to set up a production company. We got about 5 minutes, Donald.
Okay.
Set up a production company.
A couple local people and I formed a company to do a travel while you're in Myrtle Beach. It's called Myrtle Beach Video Guide, and did that for a couple of years, and then we split, and that's when I went on my own and with Lucky Dog Television Productions. It was really hard then too. I was on my own
in '88.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Really hard. Things that happened in the marketplace, as far as real estate. We used to do, at that time we'd done a lot of videos for real estate projects. The bottom, it hit there.
Oh, yeah.
So I started freelancing for different companies. I had the opportunity to do some stuff with some national clients, FootJoy, Titleist, Louisville Slugger. Was on the road a little bit with CNN, did some stuff for CBS, NBC, just picked up jobs here and there. And then when Fox launched the FX network, I was not instrumental. I was at the beginning of that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What year was that? Is that in like '93, or was it even late '80s?
No, it was later in '93. It was mid '90s.
Mid '90s.
Yeah. And I think it might have been '92 or '93 looking back.
Yeah.
But they did the morning show, and I actually traveled with them probably a week or two a month.
Is that right?
And it was a good gig. It really was. And I'll try to speed this up. And then about 7-8 years ago, my wife opened up a dress shop in Conway, and I was thinking about some things with how I could do with what I do for a living to promote that. And when back on the Cox days, Nat Adams and I started Southern Style, the program that is on Cox.
The Diane Devon Stokes host. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. We started that program, the one that's aired today on Time Warner.
Sure.
And so I thought, there's really nothing west of the waterway that talks about Conway or the rural area.
Right.
And said, what if we did something like that? We didn't have a studio, didn't have anything. And so I said, we could shoot it down on the Riverwalk in Conway, and Nat said, well, you could call it River Talk.
Yeah.
So that's where that name actually came from. Then I approached HTC, and immediately they said, we want to be a part of this. This is our community. This is our market. We want to bring community interest events to the people.
Absolutely. And so it not only airs on my station at 7, but it also airs on HTC.
3 times every day.
4, 3 times a day. That is fascinating.
Yeah, we got to get Carolina people following it on HTC.
Yeah. We need to talk to somebody about that, Donald. It is incredible to think about all the transition in life. And, of course, 10 years ago, Delaney arrived, so that was going to slow you down a little bit on those travels.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was I thought I was going to be super dad at that time. I was going to slow down on that. And as you know, now, still to this day, I don't make any decision, business or anything, that's, the first thought is not Delaney. Before, like the Louisville Slugger shoot, I was on the road for 3 months for that. There's no way I would take that job now. It's you do it to make a living, and probably the last one I took, I went to a shoot in Israel, and I was gone for 21 days, and that was Delaney was born in November, but it was a commitment I'd already made, and it went in June, and was gone for 21 days. When I got back, I said, no, that
never happened again.
No.
What is it about you, Donald, that it's tough to look inside, I guess, at yourself, but there's something about you that folks remember when they're with you. I go back to that time at the Trestle. I go back to a time when we talked about me seeing Emma Claire and visiting with her, and I remember it so vividly, and you talking about the love of a child, not only love of a spouse, but the love of a child, that it transcends virtually anything. And I remember you sharing with me just your thoughts on what that would be like, the impact that would have on your life. I guess talking about your love of your daughter.
And I think that conversation, there were a couple of things I mentioned to you. Been married for 25 years in March. Had two great parents, got some great siblings. Those are all different kind of loves, and you think that that you can't love anymore. And I remember I told you that day, I said, you haven't experienced love until you have your own child. It's a different love. It's something, and I shared an example with you that, and as bad as tragedy it was, for people that don't have children, if maybe this maybe put it in perspective with them, and people that do know exactly what I'm talking about. I remember when Susan Smith, the lady that drowned her two kids, when I first saw it, never forget it. Marilyn and I were watching TV and it broke, and she got out and she was crying to the public. And then it said, she said that they stopped the car, they forced her out, and they got in the car and drove off. And I told Marilyn, I said, she's lying. She said, what do you mean? I said, she's lying. I said, think about it. Would you get out of the car and leave Delaney? She said, you're right. And you wouldn't. No, I mean, they might drive off, but I'm going to be in that car with them. And it's just something you've got to experience. And I've seen a change since Em McClare has come around with you.
Oh, yeah. He's a lucky dog. Whether he was lucky when he met the Royster guys in Florence at age 18, or he was lucky when his grandfather had given him that silver dollar, which enabled him to have a conversation, a very tough one, with his dad about not going to college, but instead stepping out on his own. Whether he was lucky when he bumped into the deodorizer guys, or later into other guys like Lane and Keith and all the amazing folks around the Lucky Dog Television Productions. We've been lucky to have met Lane. Donald, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Oh, I've enjoyed it. It's a pleasure.
Stay tuned to more Carolina People coming up next. We want to thank Donald Smith and the entire crew at Lucky Dog Television Productions for bringing Carolina People to you and making today's Carolina People so special.